Welcome to the tech capital of the world, Kernersville, North Carolina. My name is Bobby Davis, and I'm joined here with my ever-present producer, Kevin Doyle. Hey, Kevin, how you doing?
Awesome.
All right,
Awesome. Very
man.
good.
I didn't do this in our pre-production meeting, but tell the world what's on your Netflix list. What's the next thing you're watching?
Man,
I think that's important.
I don't know on Netflix. I don't know on Netflix. So I have this issue with like fragmentation across these platforms at the minute.
Yes.
There's too many. I have Netflix, I have Peacock, I have Amazon, I have HBO, I'm ready for the day where somebody consolidates it again. And it's like,
Right.
man, I wanted
You want to go back to cable?
Right. It's like I wanted to go away from that. So so I tell you, top of my list. I made a massive list look on my phone. I don't know if you can
Okay.
see that, but I made a massive list on my phone look across all the platforms. I'm keeping it old style, like manual. So
Okay.
I did start His Dark Materials, which you recommended on HBO.
Oh, yes. That's good, isn't it?
Yeah. So I watched the first couple of that. It's good. I like it. So I'm kind of getting into that. James McAvoy's awesome.
Right.
The lady too from Luther.
Ruth Wilson.
Ruth Wilson. Super
Yeah.
good. Liking it.
Yeah.
She's good. No spoilers. So
No spoilers. It's good. It's
it's
really
good.
good. But it's
So, yeah.
like classic. What I was telling you though, you got me into British television. So like I've been watching things. I've watched things in the past like Luther and just a lot of stuff I normally wouldn't have watched. And then now they have a genre, I think.
Yeah.
And I think His Dark Materials is in that British television genre where they
Right.
follow a thread all the way through, and
Yep.
there's no filler episodes.
Yeah,
and it's
there's no-
long,
exactly.
and it's like involved, and like,
Yeah.
and it's just I just love it. I think it's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. Here you go. Go for says way too many. Netflix, Hulu, CBS, All Access, HBO. Cut out Disney Plus to watch free story. Yeah. See, I still have Disney Plus too. The only one I don't have on there is CBS All Access. And you have that one too, right? Because you watch.
No, I cut it out. I
cut
watched
it?
Star Trek and I cut it. So like I'm like
Yeah.
I think there needs to be an app where you can start and stop, kind of like services, like in your
Yeah.
cloud environment. You
Yes.
stop and start your streaming services, on demand
Yes.
streaming services.
Yes, I think so too. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
Put that in AWS, and we got Sherlock.
Exactly.
Yes.
Sherlock, yes. I mean, if you've never watched the Sherlock with Benedict Cumberbatch,
Oh my gosh.
go watch it, man. It is British TV at its finest. Like it is just good.
So
good,
typically
good.
well acted, typically very famous people in it.
He wasn't though when he started that. By the way,
I know,
That's-
but now when you go back and look at Martin, what's his name? Martin, whatever his last name is,
yeah,
Martin
yep.
Freeman. Martin Freeman's
Martin
in
Freeman,
it. I forget the guy who played Moriarty, but he's in His Dark Materials too. So like,
he is. Yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
So it's like really good.
Yeah, and he's super good. He's a good actor too. We do have a guest today, and I'll bring our guest on in a minute. He's
Yeah.
down in our green room eating the snacks.
Yeah, but say hello to my friend BK. Kevin, you don't know this. Me and BK we're buddies now.
Okay.
We
cool.
talk on Twitter.
BKC.
What's up, BK?
Okay,
How you
cool.
doing,
I like
man?
it.
We
And thanks
talk
for being a
about
channel sponsor.
yeah, we're both Raiders fans, so he's always hitting me up on Twitter on Sundays. And now we're out of season, but so we talk about the Raiders. Usually it's in a bad way because they're losing a lot, but like next year, BK, next year we got there. So
Yeah.
he's on the he's posted a lot on Twitter. Follow him on Twitter about his journey and learning to code. I don't know where he's at in that journey, but he's doing a lot of things. Looks like he's really heavily involved in trying.
You
to
can tell
figure out-
because I know BK
Yeah.
uses 100 days of code, so you can tell what
Yep.
day it's on. I remember
Yeah,
seeing
exactly.
80 something, maybe. I might be
Yeah.
wrong, 90 something like that. He may be coming up on 100.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
we're both Raiders fans. Hey BK, what's up?
N17 Hero, you're saying Martin Freeman is a hobbit? Is this what we're saying now? You're saying he's a hobbit because he was, he played a
He
hobbit.
was good in Lord of the Rings, so
He was good. No, I like him. I think he's good, but I don't care if he plays himself or not. Like he's
and he was good in Black Panther. He was good in Black Panther, so
and he was great in The Office, like where
Yeah.
he played himself, which
right.
spawned another, which spawned Jim as we have now in the US
Right.
office. So it's based on Tim, so he was super good. So let's see. We are going to do Q&A. We'll get to that in a little bit, and we'll get to our guest here in 1 second. I just want to say the Maverick's back, look.
Maverick is back.
So Maverick, you've missed it. This is like not our normal like live either. This is not
Yeah.
how we've been doing it. This is the one-off. This is going backwards to StreamYard because we have a guest. We're normally doing it a little bit different, so you need to show up and. But yes, I spoke to Maverick on Discord because I was like, hey, like where you at? So
Okay.
Maverick's been in school, doing exams and working hard. So
So he's working on a
way better to do
unique
that.
food delivery app. I think that is a great business to be in, Maverick. I don't think that market share is any way settled.
Yep.
We worked on one ourselves, but then we got busy. We had one 80% there, and we should have finished it, but like we could still go back to it.
Yep.
But like we were working on one as well. So I think that market is ripe for innovation, regardless of how much you think Uber Eats and all those guys are killing it, which they are.
But it's still.
I don't want to give my idea away, but like
yeah.
So food
Yep.
delivery. Here's your hint, Maverick. Where do they deliver it to? Think about it. So
Okay. Restless Income at the beginning of the show. Welcome. Thank you.
thanks, man. How you doing?
Somebody asked somewhere about something that we may actually disagree on. Okay, so we haven't we haven't talked about this.
All right.
Where was this? Hold on. Sorry, here somewhere. Somebody asked about WandaVision. Anyway,
Ooh, I love
So-
WandaVision.
do you?
Yes.
Okay, WandaVision lost me after the first two. Entirely lost me. Like, I'm never going to watch this because
Okay.
I don't think it wasn't like. I thought it was actually terrible TV. I didn't think it was
Okay.
like, I'm going to have to like force myself through this. I was like, this is
Right.
actually terrible. Like, I hated it. I hated everything about it.
All right.
So
Did you watch number 4
I did.
though?
I watched the third and fourth one. I'm like, So now I'm like, okay, I get 1 and 2. They should have just made that a prologue. Still think it's totally boring. The 1 and 2
Right.
just do away with them, man. It's useless. 3
Right.
starts to explain it, and then like when they did explain it, kind of in the fourth one, you kind of like
Yeah.
get an explanation. I'm like, okay, I kind of guessed that already. I was
Yeah.
a little like, I was like, oh, that's all it is. I'm like, oh, okay, that's okay.
Yeah.
I was like, so I'm still on the fence about it.
I love every minute of it. I think it's great. I think it's fantastic. I think watching 1 and 2 now that you've seen 4 makes it even the more creepier
Oh, yeah.
without giving
know.
anything away.
Yeah. I just,
So
I don't know. I
See
don't
Friday,
know if I'm in
man.
or not. Yeah. You're right. We'll see. Exactly.
there's only 8 episodes. You can hang in for 8 episodes.
I'm in 4 now, so.
I know. And I promise you this. I'll make a promise to you that this will be a pivotal moment in the Marvel Universe that will influence the movies that are coming.
Maybe, but I can probably watch number 8 and find that out. That's going to be my,
probably
you know what I
can.
mean? That's going to be my thing. Like, do I have to struggle through 3 more to get to the payoff?
3 more.
That's what it feels like.
It's an hour and a half. They're even 30 minutes.
I know. The first 3 really put me off, though, and I can't. I mean,
know.
I must not be in a minority with this because
Right.
it was very, very, very different, and I don't like that style of TV. So for
Right.
me, it was just like it's that style. I just don't like it. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was weird. Okay.
All right, cool.
Maybe it is just me. Let's bring our guest on then anyway.
All right, let's bring Paul in.
And we'll talk with Paul too. So
Yeah. Paul, what's up, man? How you doing?
Hey guys, how's everybody doing today?
I'm
Good,
doing
good.
Awesome, awesome.
So you want to tell everybody who you are? Because it just says Paul, and they probably don't know you as Paul here.
Right. I have a YouTube channel, Coding After 30, and the reason I started it's actually funny because I'm 40 now, so it was 10 years in the making. My long journey of getting my first job as a developer. But the reason I wanted to make it is because there's a lot of myths or I guess like hype around learning to code and how easy it is to get a job and make 100,000K. And a lot of these YouTubers and people, they sell you the dream. You get excited, and then all of a sudden you're like, this is hard. And
Right.
you know, especially as a self-taught developer, and you actually have no way of knowing what you're studying is actually going to get you to a job until a lot of time you waste and trial and error. And this is one of the reasons I appreciate you guys, is because you guys focus on the most important thing, which is, pick a stack. And in your case, it's ASP.NET and C#, and stick with it until you get a job. And I'm going to tell you, I started trying to learn to code probably in my early 30s, but I started seriously learning it like when I was 35. And I wasted 5 years jumping from language to language. I did Ruby, Python, C#. And after 5 years, I literally knew a lot about nothing.
Right, exactly.
I couldn't make anything. And then my friend just said to me, this is before finding you guys, but he's like, pick one thing. And then in my case, it was React, and really focusing on front end, and just stick with it until you get a job. But funny thing about you guys, I found your channel. I just started watching it because you just put out cool content and gave a lot of value. And I was like, wow, this is cool. Like, I don't have interest in ASP.NET, the C#, but I watch you guys. And then lo and behold, I get my job and my boss is like, yeah, you got to learn C#. I was like, man, I think those guys knew what they were talking about. And so like I made a full circle back. But that's kind of briefly about me in, kind of the way I got into this.
So how did you learn? Were you just hitting up Free Code Camp? What were you doing? Udemy? What are you doing?
So I did a lot of Udemy. I started with Team Treehouse. I did so many tutorials. And one thing with tutorials that a lot of people don't realize, unless you do a lot of them, is that for most of the tutorials available out there, just the way the market works, they're all geared towards beginners. And after doing a bunch of tutorials, you realize that the next tutorial you do, it's like repeating first grade math for the 10th time. It's like the same thing you already know. And people still think it's like some magic pill that if I just do more tutorials, I'm going to get to where I'm going. And it's like what you guys talk all the time. It's like, no, you got to build projects. You got to build your portfolio. And until you start building, number one, you don't realize, how difficult it is. And that the best way to get better is through building, like, failing, figuring it out, and continue to build. And most people just get stuck in that tutorial hell and never leave. And so for me, once I started working on my own projects is where I started actually even learning faster. So like what you guys say is like super important.
Okay,
that's cool. Man. So how did you start with React? What was your decision factor there? Because somebody here is saying the same thing. They're like, Go forth said it's exactly how I feel in 30, struggles to figure out what to focus on. So how did you do that? What was your process for that?
So I had a friend who works as a React developer, and he's here in Austin, and he's like, just told me there's the market for it. And he basically said what you guys say: look in your local area, see what's in demand, and pick a path, whatever it may be, that makes sense, and do it. And so he said to me, there's definitely jobs here. You just have to get competent enough that you actually could build something with React. And that was like the main point is like, limit your breadth of knowledge to a particular thing that is going to allow you to get a job in your particular area. And then in my case, it was React. And so that's what I did. And I know in some cases I talk to people, they're like, well, in my area, Angular is popular, or in my area, there's only ASP.NET C# jobs. So exactly what you guys preach, this idea of don't try to learn everything, just learn enough to get your foot in the door. And then from there, you could do whatever you want, and that's not what I did. My friend's like, look, you're going to get, he goes, this is what he said to me. He's like, if you learn how to make projects with React and actually able to deliver, you're going to get a job, period.
Yeah, there's not enough people that know how to do it.
He's right.
That's right. Now, one thing I want to tell your audience, I'm sure they know this, but big part of getting a job is being able to kind of market yourself and sell yourself, and having these soft skills and being able to talk to people. And I had the mixed experience when applying. And I remember a couple of shows ago, I asked, what do you think it's easier to get a job in a big company or a smaller company? And for me, the case was getting into a smaller company, because when I applied, I talked to the owner, and he happened to like me for whatever reason, that when he gave the interview, he just asked questions about React, the way it was pertaining to their current project. So he was actually asking questions like, this is what we're working on, what do you think we should do? And so my interview was not as difficult as I expected, because he just felt like, hey, I like this guy, and it was more nice. Where I had interviews where it's the opposite of that. People give you all these questions, all the stuff, but then you don't do well. And so I think building relationships with people could go a long way. And I know you guys talk about finding recruiters. I actually recently started making my circle of recruiters that I'm working for my next position to get a raise. So I think that's very important. And just talking about this idea that you could learn to code, that's one skill. Going to interviews and passing those interviews is a totally different skill. And so you could be the best coder ever, and if you're just not sure how to present yourself, you don't have your resume up to snuff, which I have an interesting story about that, you're not, it's going to be tough. So I know that I could talk forever.
It is any technique you can use to get away from that by the book, down the list interview, you need to try and leverage.
Listen,
that's why projects, if you can show it in an interview, that's why it works. I mean, it works every time. I get pushback on it all the time, but I guess I'm getting pushback from people that haven't tried. But man, if you just show something, most people will hire you.
Listen, to me, it makes sense. If anybody comes up to me and says, I could do this, and I say, show me, and they can't,
Yeah,
There's
that's
no
it.
like
That's all you need.
that's it. There's no previous trust, and that's why I like to do both sides. I like to network, make connections, and make sure that the place I'm applying to, I'm referred by somebody that person holds at a high regard. That's like super important, because when someone says who already works at the company, I know this candidate who'll be perfect for this role, I think you should hire them right now, already puts that candidate in like a higher light. And so if you're able to build that type of relationship, and if you can't, I guess like recruiters is like a very similar idea. It will help you when you go to the interview, because they're already going to expect, oh, this guy is it, and then you just have to prove it. And if you have your portfolio and you're able to talk about your project, like you guys say on Code Foundry, and explain what you did, now you kind of like, okay, positioning yourself in the best place ever. But coming back to the resumes, this idea of like, if you have a resume, you send it to 1,000 companies, you might get 1,000 no's. And the reason why is because if you don't have a recruiter that's kind of trying to sell your behalf, you didn't network and try to directly connect with people, they're just putting your resume through a machine, and it's just gonna like, hey, you didn't check all the tick boxes, we're not even gonna look at it. And I applied to recently to a position that I know I should have gotten, but I didn't hit every checkbox on their automatic resume machine, and they basically rejected me. And my friend's like, he's like, IBM is such a huge company, they get so many applications, that's unfortunately the process they have to do.
Yep.
But if I spoke to my friend first, this is, by the way, he said to me, he's like, Paul, you should have asked me. I would have handed your resume.
That's it. You need to bypass it.
That's
it.
Yeah, to somebody. And I would have said,
around the process.
And I would have said, I know Paul, he's a good guy, give him a shot. And he says, your resume, this is what he said, would have been on top of the pile. You would have gotten an interview, and the second part would have been up to you. But and that's where networking is huge. And another thing, like a lot of people like who get into this idea, they're like, hey, like my first job, I need to make like at least 80,000 or 60. Like, just start with a job. Like my first job, like I made the same amount of money that I made working at a supermarket as a delivery guy. Like, and people will be like, damn, why would you even take that job? Because it's a developer job. I'm getting paid in experience. I don't care. It's like, I know after like 6 months, a year, I'll be able to transition. But if you can't, like if you're getting interviews, you're not getting like into the door, try to have more realistic expectations. And sometimes you might have to take like bite the bullet and take something that you normally wouldn't take just to get experience. Like my journey has been, like when I first started, like my real developer job was like a year ago. I got it. I'm working for an actual company. But before that, I couldn't get hired. Nobody was hiring me. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to tell people I build websites with WordPress, and I just start telling everybody in my area that I could help them set up a WordPress site. And, one lady, she heard me talking about it. She's like, hey, you do WordPress sites? I'm like, yeah, which was like kind of true, And she's like, I own this marketing company, and we're looking for someone to intern, and help us out. So I got my first internship just by having a big mouth and talking about it. And like a lot of people undervalue this idea of self-promoting. They think it's like arrogant or wrong. How is anybody going to know who you are unless you talk about it and try to get in these circles? And I know before the pandemic, I think going to meetups and making connections is super important. But anyway, that internship free internship led me to a paid internship, and that paid internship led me to a job. And I was able to work there as a WordPress PHP developer. There was not that much coding. There was some, but it still added enough umph to my resume and experience that when I went and applied to my other job, I was able to get it. You know what I mean?
Okay,
and
cool.
so it's work. It's
Exactly.
work.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So here you go. Like GoForth says, you can pay me 40K. I don't care. It's like, yes, yeah, that is a thing. Like it's like you need to, if you get an offer for something and it's in the right area, yes, take it. But here's the other thing: you're not going to be making 40K for long.
Right.
No.
Right. That's
6
true.
months in, you're going to make more. Whereas if you'd have stuck with the delivery job at the grocery store, you'd still be making the same amount. There's not going to be, you may get a raise here and there, but you're certainly not going to you're not going to double your salary. You're not going to make, you're never going to make 100K doing that.
Right.
It's just you do have to sort of bite the bullet. So we come across people sometimes that they'll have a career in a certain market. Like they'll be managing something. Let's say that they're they're managing a business somewhere and they're making a 6-figure salary, but they're making an adjustment now to a development career. sometimes those people, like, it's hard to explain to them, like, hey, your first job, you're going to take a pay cut. Guaranteed. You're never going to make the same amount of money you were there here. But long term, you will exceed what you were making there. And sometimes that's hard to explain to people. Like, you are going to make less, and maybe you do have to do, like you did, an unpaid internship or a very low paid internship. I know Bobby doesn't like unpaid internships.
Yeah.
I get it.
Tech Rally's a fan, Paul.
Hey, thanks.
30. Let's go.
Yeah, so let me tell you a little bit about my previous job. So I used to be part owner of a martial arts school, so I was doing pretty good because I was part owner. Basically 50% was coming to my pocket. I got injured, and part of injuries and other stuff, like, it was just something that I wouldn't be able to continue. And one of the reasons why I think it took me 10 years, like I started at 30 and then by 40 I have my job, is because at my job I had no incentive to leave. And I was very tied down, but I realized that by the time I get into my mid 40s, I won't be able to walk anymore. And so I decided, at 36, I'm like, man, I'm gonna really make this transition. And sometimes when you do have a comfortable job or not really suffering enough, it's hard to kind of find the incentive to put in the extra work on the nights and weekends, especially if you have a family and full-time job, to make the transition. And that's why, like, you guys, you offer a boot camp. And I know there's a lot of different opinions about it, like in general, but I know a lot of people that's had very successful experience with boot camps. But the idea of just committing, 3 months of dedicated work, just enough to be able to get your first job, I think it's definitely a great opportunity, because I think if I did something like that, I would have got a job much faster than being self-taught. Because as a self-taught developer, number one, you don't know what to learn. You don't know if what you're learning is actually going to help you get a job. And then on top of it, you don't have any help of, like, on your resume, you don't have any help, like, trying to get hired. You don't have connections. So it's very, very difficult. And I think a lot of people that you find online that are successful are also the same people that's selling you some course as well. And that's one of the reasons, by the way, I came to your channel, because a lot of people that I watch, there's always a hard pitch. You guys always add more value. And then when you do talk about your boot camp, it's like in a passive combination. It's like value, value, value. Oh yeah, we have a boot camp, value, value, value. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, you guys have to sell yourselves harder. And I totally get it. I totally.
See, that's the thing. So you made a point here that
you can pull back the curtain, Kevin.
We'll be no. We'll be the first to say that a boot camp isn't for everybody. Go back to, like, the soft pitch thing, and it's not. Yeah, man, a boot camp isn't for everybody. If you apply to Coder Foundry, it's not you don't automatically. If you show up at the door with $10,000, $15,000, we don't just let you walk in. That's not how it works. Like, it might not work for you. We've told plenty of people, like, don't waste your money.
Don't waste your
it's
money.
just not for you. Don't waste your money, man. It's like, we want people to be successful, not just. We're the furthest thing from a cash grab. I mean, that's just not what we want to do.
Yeah, so I applied to a boot camp, like, just to kind of see what the experience was, and they made a big deal, like, oh, you have to have these prerequisites, which, like, I don't think they care. They just wanted to say that they had prerequisites just to make it seem like you're actually. But then, like, I had, like, a person, like, I've never been sold so hard, like, ever. Like, people just, like, contacting me, like, I'm like, it's after 6. Like, why are you still contacting me? Like, let me, like, enjoy my evening. Like, what are you doing? It's like, as I used to do sales, and I'm like, man, you're trying really hard. So I was really turned off. But with you guys, like, I like that you guys have, like, just that test, that people have to take. And you're like, hey, if you don't score this certain amount, maybe you should, like, rethink the path that you want to take.
Definitely.
It's even worse than that. If you don't get an 80, we don't even interview you.
Yeah.
I mean, that's right. Yeah, I mean, that's how it works. So our process is, we do have the test. We have an application form that you fill out and answer a few questions, sort of about your history and background. And here's the first thing I'll tell you: if you guys ever fill out that, if you go to coderfoundry.com/apply and apply to go to Coder Foundry, if you choose not to answer those questions, you don't even get looked at. You don't even get looked at. So that's the first, like, flag. The second flag is you got to score at least an 80 on the quiz. Like, that's just it's just a thing. And then the third part, we do ask that. So there is a third part after that most people don't see. So we have you do a couple projects. We basically have you follow along with a couple different videos. Is what we do, and have you do a little bit of JavaScript, and you publish something out to Netlify.
And then I interview each and every student. A lot of people are shocked. Like, I interview all the students individually that are coming into a particular cohort. So most of my week is talking to students trying to figure out, is this what you really want to do? You know, like that kind of stuff. So, and I have some questions I ask every student. So,
yeah. So the idea is we want people who really want to do it and really want to like kind of like it's changed their lives is what we really see. We look for people who are like really looking for life change.
Yeah, that's
the best stories.
Yeah, that's one thing. Like, you know, I get YouTube, I get how like, you know, drama sells, but there's a lot of people, you know, have different experience with boot camps, and I think it's a disservice when someone makes like a black and white judgment, not giving a chance, or even knowing the information that, you know, like about different boot camps. And I think like what I like about you guys, number one, you're very transparent. You have like the show on YouTube, you talk about it, and like you're in the public's eye all the time. There's no secrets, and just the part you described, how you take candidates to a boot camp, it like shows you guys doing an amazing job. But one thing I would say, a lot of people that have positive experience with boot camp, I talked to one of my sister's friends who went to one, and it's, you know, she put in the work. She had the correct expectations. She knew that it's not a golden ticket to land a job. She knew that it would require a lot of work. And then a lot of people that have negative experience with boot camps, not saying it's everybody, but I could tell from like the way they talk about it, is that they did not put in their best like effort. They, for whatever reason, just thought if I just show up, you don't get anything for showing up. I hate to say it to people, like, you know, you got to put in the work, and I think that's what you put into it. That's what you get out of it.
I think
you'd be surprised. We have students that don't show up.
I mean, you've used the analogy a bunch of times, Bobby, like the magic beans thing. It's not magic beans, man. You don't just like get this thing and it just like you pay for it and it just like all of a sudden 12 weeks later you are a developer. That's not how it works. It's just not.
You have to put your work in.
And that's something we look for when we're interviewing people too, and we talk with people. That is definitely something we look for, because that is a big red flag of somebody who's not going to be successful. And then all they're going to do at the end of it when they're not successful is blame us.
Yeah.
Blame me and blame us and stuff like that.
Play the blame game.
Right.
Yeah, I think like, you know, people underestimate like the work that it goes into it. So, you know, for me, because it took me forever, I have a hard time, like, be honest, like believe that in 3 months you could accomplish something, because in me, I don't think I could do it in 3 months. I think I need the extra time. But at the end of the day, it's like, what effort you put into it? And, you know, that's the most important part. And I think a lot of people underestimate the work that people put in, because a lot of times, you know, it's easy to talk about the process once you succeed it. Right. You know, it's like, but you know, while you're in it, people don't see the work you're putting into it and the sweat and blood that goes, you know, to get to where you're going. And it's the truth, you know.
Exactly.
It's like,
exactly. It's not easy. I don't think this is something we say too. I don't think anybody that's ever come to our boot camp has ever said that it's easy. Even people with experience coming in, they're like, this is not easy. We pride ourselves on being like the toughest boot camp. I believe we are the toughest boot camp.
I know we are.
Just because we've seen what other boot camps do too, and it's like we know it's a tough process. Learning to code is a tough process anyway. We think we've like ramped it up. It's like we feel like we've taken it to a point where we want people to be able to get jobs after what they learn at Coder Foundry. So that's our mark. We're not tough just because we want to be tough. It's tough because that's where we think people should be, and there's this level. So we want to get people to that level so they can actually get a job. They have a better chance. You maximize your opportunities.
Yeah, 100%.
Answer this question real quick because it came on. And,
okay. Yeah. So what's Troy saying? Everyone always says look in your area that works if you live by a large populated city. What about those are 3 to 4 hours away from those opportunities?
Yeah, like Kernersville. So a couple of things, Troy. I mean, you can look for remote only positions. They're becoming more and more prevalent in the COVID era. The second thing is, what I tell everyone is try to figure out if you would relocate or not. See if that's an option, especially to break in. Would you do that? And the more open you are to relocating, I think will help you. But even in the smallest towns in America, the smallest cities, we can find things for people. We found a kid a job in Tabor City, North Carolina.
Yam capital of the U.S.
It's the yam capital of the world. So go look up Tabor City, North Carolina. So like that is like as rural as it gets. And so like, and the same holds true in like parts of Texas, parts of Montana, parts of North and South Dakota, those kind of things. Those are more sparsely populated even than North Carolina. So like, you may have to move, or you may be try to find a remote job. So I hope that helps. It may not always work out in every single place in America. So, but that's a good question, Troy.
Yep, definitely.
Yeah, and Troy, I mean, I live in Connecticut, and for a junior dev where I lived, it was very competitive and very hard to break in. So I ended up moving to Austin, Texas, just to increase my chances. And I know not everybody's able to do that, but for me, I was like, that's like the only way I felt. So by the way, that book, Breaking the Code, excellent book that Bobby has on his desk. I definitely recommend it.
That plug.
Actually, you know what? Like, no, but I'm saying, like, I read it, and the last part was about recruiters, and I was just like, that's the one part I was like, man, and totally sold me on it. I'm like, you know what? Let me work with recruiters. Let me do that thing. So, I don't want to blabber on forever. I don't know if you guys want to take some questions from the.
Yeah, we'll take some more questions.
Yeah, let's do Q&A. You sticking around and answer too?
Yeah, if you guys like,
definitely.
Sure.
Yeah.
If I,
No, definitely.
give my 2 cents.
Exactly.
Right.
It's your opinion on these things. If you haven't already subscribed to Paul's channel too, go subscribe to his channel.
Thanks.
Coding after 30.
Coding after 30.
You can go.
So.
Watch the channel trailer. It's hilarious.
What would you say is your like channel like thing? What are you going after? What's your goal with this?
And like, I want to give like honest opinion that it's not easy to get a job as a developer, especially if you're older and switching careers. And I still trying to find my voice, but I think like bringing some humor into it will be like fun to do. But basically, like, there's so many people out there that, like, I don't want to mention some channels, but they're blatantly targeting like the beginners, and they're selling them a dream. And based on my own courses that I took, let's say on Udemy, I know that out of like I have like hundreds and hundreds of courses. I maybe completed 6, 7. I know that most people don't finish what they start. And so these guys, they sell these courses, they sell this dream, and they know that people will buy their beginner course and they'll be fine because they got your money, and they don't care if you don't finish it or make anything of it, because at the end of the day, it's on you to do something with that knowledge. But like, I feel it's unfair to sell a dream knowing that, like, but not be responsible enough to tell people how hard it's going to be. And there's plenty of places where it's like, oh, it's easy, anybody could do it. It's just like how I got, $100,000 job after taking this one Python course. Nothing against Python, but like, I'm like, come on. Like, it's either I'm either really stupid or something's wrong here, because
to me it comes back to one of these results not typical things, right? You see like that, you see like that diet commercial on TV, and it's like that dude, he's like lost 100 pounds, he's now like jacked, and you're like, and at the bottom you see like results not typical. Yeah. And so like I used to be in sales, and I get it, but when you watch coding like pitches or whatever that are very similar to make money online, type of pitch, I'm like, something's wrong here. It's like they're trying. It's like they just,
I think So what, we got a question here.
Yeah. You do a question. Stefan says, biggest thing. It's not really a question, but we can talk about it. Biggest thing is having no experience. It's a portfolio enough to get a job.
I think it's the only way to break in. I think you got to have one. Period. Whether you're whoever you are, I think increasingly, you're going to see in the marketplace that a lot of people are going to come walking in with portfolios. But if you have no experience, never had a dev job, Stefan, you have to show them what you can do. You can't just walk in there and say, I can do this. They're going to ask you to show them something. So I think a portfolio is the essential sales tool that you have to break in. So, but if that's all you got, people get in with no experience. They hire junior devs all the time, so people do get in without experience.
Yeah, we've definitely seen it at the bootcamp. Yeah. We have people who graduated high school, 0 experience, worked at like a grocery store. I think one particular guy worked at a grocery store like part-time through school, finished high school, and then completed the program, got a dev job. So it can happen.
It can happen.
Using his portfolio.
Most people that graduate from college don't have experience and they get jobs. So
right. Here's a good one for you, Paul. I think it's just, you talked about this a little bit. So Heather, what do you think about learning multiple languages at the same time, or even various fields? You went down this road.
Yeah, it took me 5 years to learn this one. Big mistake. You shouldn't do that. I will tell you this. The first, I tried learning Ruby, Python, C++, C Sharp, C for some whatever reason. And it didn't help me because it's too much. Your brain gets overloaded. It's not until I learned JavaScript well that I finally got it through my head that if you learn your first language, learning other languages will become easy. But you can't learn everything at once. You have to learn one language well, so that's what my recommendation would be to a lot of people. Like, some people can't do it. I just really like, after you learn your first language, you could pick up any programming book, read it, and it'll make sense to you, just because they're all similar. The syntax will be slightly different, but the underlying like mechanics and theory and like
core ideas are all the same.
Yeah, core ideas all the same. Yeah, exactly. So
this one's for you, Paul. Troy wants to know, what kind of projects are you building and what stacks are you using?
Yeah, good question.
Yeah, great question. Before I answer your question, I know Bobby talks about building full stack apps, and I totally agree with that. In my case, when I first started out, I wanted to be a little bit more niche than that. So I really focused on front end only with React and JavaScript. And for my back end, I would use like something like Strappy, which is, JavaScript based, like kind of like a CMS type of thing. And you could customize it to whatever your heart desires. So my stack is React for the front end and Strappy for the back end. But at work, I'll tell you what we do, which is React for the front end, and you would never guess what the back end is. It's ASP.NET and C Sharp. So, the beauty of having a front end framework and being comfortable with it is that you could connect it to any back end you like. So whatever is, in your area popular that will get you a job, you could pick and choose as long as you pick one thing to focus on, and I'm still sticking to React, even though I do C Sharp and stuff at this point.
No, React's so big at the minute. You're in the right wheelhouse.
React's fine, man. You're not gonna hurt my feelings at all. Like, you can build C Sharp, and you can web API on the back end, what you're doing, which is great, and then you can stick whatever you want on the front.
Yeah. It's very flexible.
Blazor, Angular, React. That's where it's going. Those three kind of frameworks is where it's going to go. And then ASP.NET, what we currently see, MVC, which is a post-back technology. It's not like JavaScript. That'll increasingly go in less popularity as we go along. Right now, it's still highly popular, so that's why we teach it. It's still it's mainstream. But you can see where the industry is going to go.
A couple of things. Look, Alex is asking if you work here. Just so we're clear, we had no pre-production meeting for this thing. These are all Paul's own words.
We did. We
paid no more than $20 to him. No.
Right.
Yeah.
So yes, but if you guys do want to help Paul, go to his channel.
They paid me in tacos.
Tacos, that's it, man.
Oh, look at this too. Here's a compliment for you. Look, Paul says you look younger than 40. Look at that.
Must be the light. I know. I mean, I've been probably genetics from my mom, and also I've been active most of my life. So
yeah.
There you go. There you go. Okay. Let's see. Eric here. Thanks for the question, Eric. Says, how do you know if a remote job is legit or a scam?
So I can go a little bit on this one. I think if they ask you to give them money, it's a scam. So
it's a big
so
red
work
flag.
from
but they will, because they will ultimately, right? Because that's the scam, right?
Yeah, work from home scams, because we did a lot. I used to own a fraud company, and so we worked on this kind of stuff a lot. So work from home scams was, they would say, oh, I need to send some money. Can you cash this check for me? And then forward 90% of it to me and keep 10% for yourself is kind of scam. Well, this check is bad. They're working on the 7-day float, and then you left holding the bag on the whole thing. So not to mention that you cashed a fraudulent check. So those are kind of things that ask if you have to give them money, it's a scam. Make sure they can pay you. Look at the company itself, look at their website. Are they real? You can also call them directly and just check to see if they answer the phone, they pick it up, those kind of things. So there's a lot you can do.
It's like an accumulation of things, isn't it? I think that's the thing. There's no one sort of right way to do it, because they may have thought about things like calling in and maybe a legit scam company.
Right.
If that makes sense. But if they ever ask for any money, if they ever want bank details, anything crazy like that, early on in the process, think twice. And if it seems too easy, it's too good to be true, chances are it's too good to be true. If you like show up and the guy's like, yeah, oh, you can do that, great, like you're good, you're in. That's big red flag.
Hey, we got us a super chat in here, Kevin. Look at that.
Oh, cool.
Thank you,
Nice.
Amir. Thanks a lot, man.
Oh, Ameer, yes, thank you.
That's like 10 tacos right there.
See,
Yes,
that
that's
is.
that.
Tacos
We're buying
all
Paul
around.
tacos now.
Tacos all around. So Ameer wants to know, does it help to tell a hiring manager I'll intern for free or minimum wage, help convince them? Or is that desperation unattractive? Good question. And then could you roast my portfolio
if you have a chance? We can do that.
Yeah, drop me for the portfolio part, drop me an email right here, info@coderfinder.com with it. If you send it right now, we'll take a look at it. As long as I get it here within a...
So I think in general, we'll put his quote back up here, Amir. I don't think that you need to say you'll work for free. If they're willing to pay you, take the money. You can always ask, what does the job pay? I think that's a better negotiating thing. Sometimes that can be a negative connotation that you'll do anything for money, and they're wondering, do you have the skills that I'm looking for? And typically, most companies will pay the intern, or they'll pay you. So in America, you should always work for something. I don't know, so if you're living in the U.S., you should never work for free, unless there's a really good reason. Like, you can help your mom. You don't have to charge your mom to build a React site.
Right, right.
So
right,
like, or your uncle or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, but like in general, you're going for, big co or medium co company, company ABC, and they want you to come in and build something for free. Unless the experience really helps you out, I don't see the benefit in doing that.
Yep. And as Ben says here, you're worth more than that as a dev.
You are 100%. Know your worth. Yeah.
I just saw a comment by Maverick. I just want to quickly touch on that because it is a thing. Like, he kind of asked. Yes. And so it's great when you're building like your own personal projects and you just want to create a quick back end with Firebase. The thing that because I built a bunch of Firebase projects, the reason why I stopped using it is because nobody's using it at a job, or at least the ones that I saw. A lot of people are connecting to like SQL database with like whatever the API is. So you should be familiar with the stuff that you're actually going to be using at work. So totally nothing wrong with building something with Firebase. But when I was looking for jobs, like, I didn't see any Firebase jobs. Everybody's like either like SQL with ASP.NET or, Node.js based, APIs. And so that's why I kind of stopped. And the only two databases that I work with now is like either SQL or like MongoDB. Those are like the two main ones. So I just wanted to mention that.
You can throw MySQL in there. You can throw Postgres in there.
Yeah, same.
Anything SQL.
For sure, 100%.
But you're right, Paul. I don't see anyone really using Firebase in the enterprise. Yeah. So, I mean, you can, and there's probably an exception. There's probably 10 guys probably saying we use it right now in the comments.
Because there are always exceptions.
Yeah, there's always exceptions. But SQL's dominant in that stuff, in that space still. So.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to do one thing here. Look. Because we have Ameer's.
Oh, we're going to roast it right now. Oh, man. Okay, let me maximize this so I can see it. Okay.
Let's see here.
It's got his picture going on. I like that.
So yeah, let's take a look. So Ameer's computer scientist.
Okay.
Okay. So Python, Java. Let's see. Has a little about me section. Right. Oh, this is interesting. A little hover over is kind of cool.
Neat, nifty. Look at this blog bug tracker. Is he a coder?
Oh yeah, I think so too. I don't know. These little hovers.
Yeah, close transitions. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's try and break them though. Look. We'll come back to that in a second. This coding challenges section. Oh, this is cool. I like this stylized look too. I like the color of the portfolio. Okay, these are links too. So what did he build here? Oh, he did an amortization schedule. Look, that's interesting.
Wow,
that's cool.
Okay.
It's based on that project, I'm guessing.
Click on look at that one.
Cool.
Does it work?
Which one? This one?
Let's click on his loan.
Let's see.
Loan friend.
Loan friend. Oh, I like this. This is cool.
Nice. That's awesome.
This is good.
This is what you do. This is how you do it, and then hit calculate. So it's 15,000.
You remember these things?
3.5%.
Okay.
60 months.
60 months. What's my APR? Monthly?
I do annual.
Annual?
Yeah.
Let's see what we
Every
get.
Ooh,
I won't
okay,
take-
we'll just do 3.
Okay, let's do 3.
That's a bug. Yeah.
Oh, I broke it.
That's a super bug. All right, so like, yeah, it's got to work, Ameer. Like if you have it on there, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah,
So
but it does.
try it
Yeah.
again. Maybe it just didn't know what to do with that error.
What
Just
says?
let it-
Yeah, maybe I hit calculate. It
Okay.
did do something down here. Like, I don't know if that was the same
Okay.
before. I didn't notice. Maybe. Yeah, that's
All right.
wrong, right? Because I only put 15,000. So that's not right.
Yeah, that's not right. So make sure it works. Okay, cool.
Yeah. So yeah, to contact me at the bottom
Okay.
with a form. I like it.
All
Let's
right,
check out
so
your
let's-
let's check out
Click
his
the-
bug tracker too.
This
There
is
you
bug
go.
tracker.
Okay, so it's okay, so it's not
That's-
published
no,
just yet.
it links to climatemodel.py, so like it doesn't link out to anything.
Oh, so it's not okay. So that might be broken.
You got to fix that too, man. So
Yeah.
here's in general here, Ameer, when we're looking at this for students, when we look at students' portfolios, this is what we do to every student. I want you to think about what can happen when you have broken links on your portfolio. You will get what's called a soft no. You'll submit it, and they won't respond, or they'll say we're not interested, and they're not going to ever tell you why. So make sure every single link works like it should, and the apps that you show function and behave correctly. So you got to do some testing. You got to work on it, and I think that way you'll get a much better result in shipping out your portfolio. You can't really fake it because they'll actually look at it. They'll actually click through those things. So
Well, they'll
all
do
those
exactly
links
what
gotta
we've
work.
just done as a minimum. I mean,
So we went through it in like 3 minutes, and then you kind of get a no after that because it doesn't work.
yeah.
So-
As soon as they hit one of those, like you're right. As soon as they hit an error or something, they're immediately going to have a
Yeah.
sort of a negative connotation.
Yeah.
So
All right. Cool.
yeah.
right.
Okay, so some more questions here, but thank you for the super chat. Super
thanks,
appreciate
man.
it.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Oh, here you go. Here's one up your alley, Paul. Travel. How old is too old to get a job as a full stack web dev?
Listen, if you're dedicated, nothing is impossible, but it does take a lot of work. Like I told my story, I started, learning to code a lot earlier, but it took me a long time for many reasons. One of them is trying to learn everything. Number two, not really being committed to what you're looking to do. And number three, it's like people, like I mentioned before, underestimate the hard work it takes. So sometimes we get, we start to doubt ourselves. We start saying maybe it's not for us. It's not that it's not for you. It's just you have to put in the right amount of work to see progress. And a lot of times that in itself is discouraging. So you're not too old. It's just be willing to do the work. I know sometimes that's not the answer a lot of people are looking for, but I started seriously coding and pursuing it like at 36, and I got my first real job last year when I was 39. And so some people be like, whoa, it took you too long. Like everybody has their own journey. Like, everybody has different responsibilities with family, work. Like I had a business that I worked at and stuff like that. And so you're never too old, but just understand you need to set realistic expectations and put in the work. And sometimes I hear stuff like, I don't have time. Well, don't watch Netflix, go to bed 1 hour late, wake up 1 hour early. Like sometimes like when I post videos like online, I post videos at 2 a.m. because that's the only time I could do it because I have work. I have other things that I have to do. And so, keep at it, but just and put in the work. That's it.
Yeah, and I think too, like the other thing is like work-life balance is a big term, but when you're trying to break into industry, you've got to make some sacrifices where that work is going to go like that, and that balance is going to go over here. So like you just got to because you're trying to acquire a lot of skills at once, and it just takes practice and time.
Yeah, I think somebody had said up top, like, put down the PlayStation controller, like, forget. And we actually tell people coming into the boot camp, too. It's like, look, your social life's done for 12 weeks. Forget you're doing anything else, man.
Right.
Cancel Netflix, put down the games. Like, you're not going to play them for 12 weeks. If your extracurricular, like, time, anything you're doing outside of this should still be this for 12 weeks.
That's it. That's all you do.
Yeah,
Focus in to do it.
That's one thing, like, a lot of people maybe miss, but it's 100% true. You got to make sacrifices. Like if you talk to my family, they'll be like, all Paul does is sit in front of his computer, study or code. Like it doesn't even talk to us anymore, which is not nice. I want to talk to them. Like my daughter over there, she's like,
That's funny.
But it's the truth, and so like I used to do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu like 7 days a week, 2 hours, 3 hours, like 4 hours a day, like, and I quit Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu completely, which shocked a lot of people. They're like, how can you quit? I'm like, because that's like I don't want to even like put effort into something that's not helping me become better at coding. And people might say it's extreme, but look, I'm here, I got my first job, I broke into the field, because I committed like full on, like not taking no for an answer. And like I said before, when I was not getting jobs, I would tell people, I'll make you a website, whatever. I was just trying to, like, it's like, if I don't get a job, I'm going to start my own freelancing company. By the way, freelancing is really difficult. You're much better off getting a job. I'm just going to tell you that right now. Yeah. Running your own business. Like when you're a freelancer, you're not a programmer. You're a salesperson, you're customer care, you're all those other things. And a lot of times when you price your job, you can't say like, oh, for coding, I'm going to charge like $50 an hour, because the coding is just like 20% of the work that you actually do. And then sometimes people won't pay you. And then what do you do? Yeah. And then you're like, so freelancing is hard. Like it's much easier just go to boot camp and get a job, or self-taught, get a job. But freelancing, like if you could do it, I've tried it. I've done it for a little bit. It's easier to work, Yeah.
So. Yeah, definitely. See, someone wants to know, where's your accent from? Long Island or Boston?
Yeah,
you got more than that though.
Some people say New York. It's like so that's basically Russian and English combined together. So like I came to America when I was young, like 10 years old, and I've been here for 30 years now. So part of that Russian accent is still there, and that's what it is. That's what it is.
I like it. Let's
look
see.
At this. Who wants to buy my PS5?
Someone just take it. That's funny. Hey, I'm in the market for a PS5.
Yeah, they're hard to get. Xbox are hard to get.
Let's make the deal. Let's make the deal.
Yeah. I got an Xbox, even though apparently Microsoft is saying they're going to be short through the summer. Did you see that, by the way? That's all
I know. Yeah, they can't make them.
It's crazy. They can't make enough of them, I guess. But I managed to get one of those, but I still can't get a PlayStation, man. I don't know what's going on with these things.
It's funny like that you mentioned that, because I had a nice PC with like a nice video card, and I ended up changing it into Bitcoin miner. Just
did you really?
Yeah, just so I don't use it. And I bought a Mac Mini because I know there's zero chance of me running any game.
That's true. That's true.
And that's why I don't know, a couple of shows I mentioned how I use Stadia, because I'm like, I got to get my fix, but my internet is bad, so I'm like, good, no distractions,
So what coins are you mining? Which ones are you mining?
Ethereum. That's it.
Okay.
That's what I'm doing.
Okay, I like it.
It's going slowly. We'll see.
That's cool. We've been talking about Bobby and I have been talking about cryptocurrency recently. So
I have this friend. Like no matter what he does, he just makes a killing. Ethereum, he's like killing it. He did the GameStop thing, killed it. I'm like, Jesus Christ. But smart dude.
Yeah.
I
don't want to talk about the GameStop thing right now.
No.
It's on a down, so let's talk about it when it's on an up again.
Yeah. God bless people that were able to win on that, but and unless you have money that you're willing to part with and lose, and it's not gonna put you, lose your house.
This is exactly what we were talking about. It's like if you've got extra money, and it's like you're willing to put it there, that's great, but don't bet the rent on it.
Yeah. No, you can't do that. It sounds exciting, but you could lose big. You could lose big. The way the market works, it's like there are people that make it, and then there are people that lose it. It's a zero-based game. It's like
Well, all I can say is my diamond hands were too diamond. I should have let go of that thing on Friday.
Oh no! Keep holding. What are you talking about? We're in this.
Oh no!
This isn't over yet.
Yeah.
We might talk about this on Thursday, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see here. What do we got here? You could start your own project, development, startup, so to get into a company and get some experience first. We talked about this just briefly. You mentioned freelancing, which is kind of similar, but not really. I guess if you're doing your own project, but it is kind of the same ballpark in that you still have to be more than just a coder.
Yeah, so MJ, if you're talking about even launching an app, let's say that you have a great app idea. So what the coding is what I would call like 20 or 30% of it. Like you got to have an app, you got to have an idea, but then you've got to figure out customer acquisition, sales and marketing, and how do I monetize that application? How do I get it out there? And then you gotta have money to like budget for ads and all this kind of things. And then the little known thing is if you're selling your app to somebody, you've got to have like contracts and like all that kind of legal things that go on. So there's just a lot to it. And I think it's easier to start out in a company, get lots of experience, work on that app, that big dream on the side until you're ready to go launch with it. Because it's a lot easier to launch something part-time than it is to like just go all in.
Yeah.
Unless you have a lot of experience already and you've launched things before and you know how all this works. But
or just a bunch of money in the bank already too. That's gonna help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so here our friend Ram start the GameStop talk. That's a long quote. That's a long joke from last Thursday, Paul. So,
That's it.
yeah, exactly.
That's funny. That's funny. Ram, just for you, Ram. Just for you.
It's just you, Ram. So.
That's funny. And actually, Ram has a question too. Look, let's see Ram's question. This is probably, can I have a good sleep schedule, even if I work at a company as a developer, or does every developer sacrifice having long sleep?
I don't think so, but it can happen.
That's a myth,
though.
right?
No. It's not a myth.
I think it's a myth that every developer, because it's.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think that's true that every developer like works to 4 a.m. in the morning.
But I think there's periods of time where there's deadlines and things you got to get out the door, and the company has a hard and fast deadline, and there's just nothing you can do, and you're working the whole weekend or at night or something like that. You also can have things like that, something problem in production that'll keep you up all night trying to fix something because it's broke. There's just lots of things that happen like that, and that
You're
doesn't
talking about
matter.
your experience there, aren't you?
Yes.
I can just
Exactly.
tell.
So true story, Paul. True story. I was working on a product, and we had to integrate with a third-party provider, and this third-party provider would literally shut down. They would go into what's called a code freeze right after January because they didn't have coverage for holidays or whatever, and they wouldn't come back until like, and I don't know how they did this, but it was like March 15th. So it was like from January to March 15th. I was sitting there on Christmas Eve at 11:58, evaluating my life, like, what the heck am I trying to get this thing to work for with this third-party provider? I should be putting together a bike or something, like it's like, it was crazy. But like, that does happen to some of us where we stay up all night doing things. It's just part of how it goes. But then there's long periods of time where you're in a good spot, and it's like a 9 to 5, and you've got everything kind of under control, and so it comes and goes. It's not every day though. I don't know how you feel about Paul. What's your work-life balance like?
So I start at 9, end at 5 on the dot. And there's something I heard somebody say to me. There's a bunch of people say it, and there's a saying, like Jim Rohn said, work on yourself more than you work on your job. And so the idea being, it's like if you work for a company and let's say they make you go overtime or like whatever, like maybe you're getting paid time and a half, it's still not worth it because you're doing stuff for them. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Versus the way I look at it, it's like I'm finished at 5 and then I'm going to work on skills that will help me get my next job, which will give me the bigger pay. You know what I mean? So that's how I look at it. Everybody has their own thing. But I feel like, got to work on yourself, raise your own value, because that's the only way you're going to get to that high income is you able to provide massive value to somebody, So.
Okay. Yeah. I phrase it like this. If you're going to work for free, you work for me.
Right.
So like, so like you work for me and yourself.
Yeah.
So like,
exactly.
I think that's good.
Okay, cool. We're coming to the top of the hour. I don't want to go over.
Diamond hands till death, baby, Kevin.
Diamond hands.
I got diamond hands.
And there's Maverick to the moon.
To the moon. You know what I think though? With GameStop's already been to the moon and come back. I think it was at 425. It was at the moon. People didn't know it.
Yeah,
maybe.
That's the hardest thing. So I just before we go, a quick story. So why I stopped investing myself and let professionals do it. I remember Netflix was going through its rocky up and down. And I sold right before it skyrocketed.
Because Netflix did have that one thing where it really did skyrocket in a day, didn't it? It went to the moon in a day.
Right. I sold exactly at that time when it's at the lowest before it skyrocketed. And after that, I'm like, never again, forget it. I'm going to just invest my money with professionals. That's
Yeah.
Just let somebody
so
else
I
do
can't.
it.
I can't do it. So.
Yeah.
Hey guys, thank
All
you
right,
for
cool.
having me. I really enjoyed being on your show.
Appreciate it, man.
Anytime,
Yeah.
always.
Yeah, we'll bring you back in. It was
fun.
good.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Likewise,
All
yeah,
right.
anytime, Paul. Go
Yeah,
subscribe to
awesome.
Paul's channel, Coding After 30. Go
Thanks, guys.
go
Coding
check
after
it
30.
out.
Hit him up. Get him over. Get him some subs today.
You just over 1,000, didn't you? I saw
Just
that.
now, yeah, super excited. Yeah.
That's awesome.
There you
Make it
go,
awesome.
man.
So-
Monetization.
If you have the same, so here's the thing about YouTube. If you have the same sort of trajectory we did, between 1,000 and 10,000 comes a lot quicker than it did to get to 1,000. Weird.
Yeah.
Super
I was-
weird. So hopefully
yeah.
that happens for you too. It
That's
did for
awesome.
us.
Thank you.
So,
Thanks, guys.
yeah.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
Thanks, Paul.
Cool.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Have a good one. Thank
You
you.
too. Take
Bye-bye.
care,
Thanks,
man.
Paul. See ya.
Cool.
Super good. Cool.
Yeah.
Thanks, Paul, for coming.
Yeah, Paul can come back anytime. Definitely.
Yeah.
There you go. Don't say that. It's not over. It's not over. Talk's just for you, Ren.
That's it.
Okay, let's wrap up here. So what was I gonna say? Oh, okay. So if you I don't have my thing here. Just make this real quick.
All right.
I haven't been on this platform in a minute, and a little
Yeah, so
banner
it's kinda
things.
new.
Here we go. I think I broke this thing. Let's see. Okay, here we go. So, just one thing I'm plugging today. If you're interested in applying for Coder Foundry, you can go to coderfoundry.com/apply. Fill out a form, go through the process. I figured just because we talked about it earlier, I might as well just
Yeah.
give you the information
Yeah.
too. So,
Class starts April 5th, the next one. So
is that the next one? April 5th. Okay. So we're a few weeks out from the current class that are around. What are they, like halfway through now? Maybe something like
Right.
that. Current class.
Mhm.
So yeah, so you got a few weeks. We're still accepting applications too. Probably a couple weeks before that. So if you're interested, go there,
Right.
check it out. You can just go to coderfoundry.com, check out the website too if you're interested in that stuff.
All right, cool. That's
Somebody
what we
can,
do.
reach out to you.
All right.
Cool.
Well, it is lunchtime here in the tech capital of the world, Kevin. So
It is taco time.
taco time. And thanks you for the supporters. And who is our super chat person? Who did this?
Let me
Ameer.
see. Ameer. Thank you for
Amir.
the
Thanks, Amir. Thanks for lunch, Amir. We'll enjoy it. Appreciate it.
Definitely. And we'll be back on Thursday. Another guest on Thursday too, right?
Here we do. The great Danny Thompson's coming on Thursday.
Cool. So, hey,
So,
Ram, we're definitely going to talk about GameStop on Thursday.
That's all we're talking about on Thursdays.
I'm sure we'll talk about other stuff, but we're definitely talking about GameStop on Thursday.
We're talking about Danny Thompson and his diamond hands. Hopefully, we'll see if he's still holding
see.
on Thursday.
Yeah.
See what's up.
I'm interested. to see where we are on Thursday and see what happens.
Yeah.
It's gonna be cool. So,
All right. Well, good luck and keep coding, guys. We'll see you on Thursday.
see you guys later.